Hey everyone, Chansey here with another release of Sweet. This is 0.1.32. I thought I'd quickly go over how the framework works for those who aren't familiar with it, and then we'll have a look at what's new. So Sweet's a full stack testing framework, which means we've got support for native unit tests, just like your regular vanilla Rust tests. On top of a regular test, you can see that we've got, for example, matches. We can return results, which we don't have to do unwrapping all the time. And so there's that quality of life. It's got a very pretty output, which we'll have a look at in a second. But on top of just regular native unit tests, we've also got support for Fandicini, etc. We've got component tests in browser. That's something like you'd see in Cypress, where you just want to test an individual, let's say like a U or a Leptos component. We've also got in-browser full end-to-end tests, which instead of running in the same process, they will actually create an iframe and run the test from outside of that. Now that includes a reverse proxy, which lets you do a bit more with an iframe than you regularly would be able to do. This is similar to how Cypress works. Obviously, a lot newer than Cypress. And yeah, so I thought I'd jump into again how it looks. I'm going to use just this Sweet demo. This is just a very clean repository. If you wanted to have a look at Sweet, this might be a good way to start, just by cloning it. So this is it here. The most common tests are like this. There's also a Sweet macro. This is how it started, and new in 1.32, you don't have to use this. I found that it's a little bit too magical. Like it does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, like working out whether it's async, all that sort of stuff. It's a bit it's less boilerplate if that's what you want, but it's also not as clear what's going on. So instead, you can just use your this is more like a regular test, a vanilla test. It's just got the attribute. If I wanted, I could instead of returning a result, I could just do a regular assertion here. I'll go ahead and run that just to show what that looks like. Okay, so that's passing, and then yeah, this is a little bit my case for using results instead of panics. I find there's a little bit of noise in this output that I'm not as so much of a fan of. Usually if you're running a test and something fails, you do want to backtrace, even if you didn't, add that in there. So what you can do is, if instead I use this one, this will pass. Oh, 1 and 2. Oh yeah, got to return a result. So that'll pass. But if I get that to fail, it's a bit cleaner. Like you got, okay, just the lines you're interested in. This is modeled after test suites like in the JavaScript world that can kind of look a bit like this. Particularly Jest looks a lot like this. So that can be a bit nicer to work with. And that's just your regular vanilla tests. Of course, we've also got end-to-end tests. So this is an example of using Fandicini. You can still use the sort of the matches. So yeah, so still running on the client. I can go ahead and run that now. So that'll. Oh wait, I'm going to need Chrome driver as well. I'll just get Chrome driver up. Otherwise, okay. Okay. So yeah, that managed to get running in time. It had a little bit of leeway. And yeah, so okay, so that one, yeah, so that one's able to. That's an example of an end-to-end test, a native end-to-end test. We've also got in-browser stuff. So I'll give you an example of what that would look like. Okay, so first of all, you got a component test. This is just using WebSys. So this is just basically getting a window, set some HTML of the window, and then expect it to have that text. So if I want to run that, we actually at the moment we've got to use the forky CLI to get that running. So this is it. This is the command for getting that running. If you don't pass any arguments, it's going to run headless. It's going to start Chrome driver internally, then just run it by itself. You actually wanted to see what it's doing. you can pass the interactive flag, and that'll cause a lot of flashing because it's quickly running through all the tests by default. And that's going to run them individually, where you get your output here. So for example, this is one where it's setting heading. And finally, I just wanted to show you the end-to-end tests inside of the browser. So this is like, just to compare this end-to-end test with the native end-to-end test. They're doing something similar. One's doing it inside the browser, the other's doing it from the CLI. So depending on what you want to do, if you wanted to actually, for example, this page is like an iframe. So if you actually wanted to get really into the HTML and into that process, you're able to do that. Otherwise, if you wanted to run things natively, you can use the native end-to-end testing. Yeah, so I did sneak in there what's changed. I'll just run over it again. Basically, we've got the extra macro. So now we've got the sweet test macro. Should be a lot nicer to work with, less magical than the this sort of like that's kind of like more like your I mean modeled after something like Jest or something like that. But yeah, look, I'm really looking for feedback to see what sort of features people need, what people find important. Obviously, documentation's the next step, but other than that, there should be some stuff to get started with, to play around with. Of course, you can customize the matches, you can create your own, do what you like with that, and yeah, I'll be interested to see how people go with the library.